Good afternoon. Secretary Mnuchin, Secretary Ross, EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, members of Congress, distinguished guests, on behalf of the First Family, welcome to the White House. You know, it's the greatest privilege of my life to serve as Vice President to a president who is fighting every day to make America great again. Since the first day of this administration, President Donald Trump has been working tirelessly to keep the promises that he made to the American people. President Trump has been reforming health care, enforcing our laws, ending illegal immigration, rebuilding our military. And this president has been rolling back excessive regulations and unfair trade practices that were stifling American jobs. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, American businesses are growing again, investing in America again, and they're creating jobs in this country instead of shipping jobs overseas. Thanks to President Donald Trump, America is back. And just last week, we all witnessed the bold leadership of an American president on the world stage, putting America first. From the Middle East to Europe, as leader of the free world, President Trump reaffirmed historic alliances, forged new relationships, and called on the wider world to confront the threat of terrorism in new and renewed ways. And by the action the president will announce today, the American people and the wider world will see once again, our president is choosing to put American jobs and American consumers first. Our president is choosing to put American energy and American industry first. And by his action today, President Donald Trump is choosing to put the forgotten men and women of America first. So with gratitude for his leadership and admiration for his unwavering commitment to the American people, it is now my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to all of you the President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to begin by addressing the terrorist attack in Manila. We're closely monitoring the situation, and I will continue to give updates, anything happens during this period of time, but it is really very sad as to what's going on throughout the world with terror. Our thoughts and our prayers are with all of those affected. Before we discuss the Paris Accord, I'd like to begin with an update on our tremendous, absolutely tremendous economic progress since Election Day on November 8th. The economy is starting to come back, and very, very rapidly. We've added $3.3 trillion in stock market value to our economy and more than 1 million private sector jobs. I've just returned from a trip overseas where we concluded nearly $350 billion of military and economic development for the United States, creating hundreds of thousands of jobs. It was a very, very successful trip. Believe me. Thank you. Thank you. In my meetings at the G7, we have taken historic steps to demand fair and reciprocal trade that gives Americans a level playing field against other nations. We're also working very hard for peace in the Middle East, and perhaps even peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Our attacks on terrorism are greatly stepped up, and you see that. You see it all over. from the previous administration, including getting many other countries to make major contributions to the fight against terror. Big contributions are being made by countries that weren't doing so much in the form of contribution. One by one, we are keeping the promises I made to American people during my campaign for president, whether it's cutting job-killing regulations, appointing and confirming a tremendous Supreme Court justice, putting in place tough new ethics rules, achieving a record reduction in illegal immigration on our southern border, or bringing jobs, plants, and factories back into the United States at numbers which no one until this point thought even possible. And believe me, we've just begun. The fruits of our labor will be seen very shortly, even more so. On these issues and so many more, we're following through on our commitments, and I don't want anything to get in our way. I am fighting every day for the great people of this country. Therefore, in order to fulfill my solemn duty to protect America and its citizens, the United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord Thank you. Thank you. But begin negotiations to re-enter either the Paris Accord or in really entirely new transaction on terms that are fair to the United States, its businesses, its workers, its people, its taxpayers. So we're getting out, but we will start to negotiate, and we will see if we can make a deal that's fair. And if we can, that's great. And if we can't, that's fine. As president, I can put no other consideration before the well-being of American citizens. The Paris Climate Accord is simply the latest example of Washington entering into an agreement that disadvantages the United States to the exclusive benefit of other countries, leaving American workers, who I love, and taxpayers to absorb the cost in terms of lost jobs, lower wages, shuttered factories, and vastly diminished economic production. Thus, as of today, the United States will cease all implementation of the non-binding Paris Accord and the draconian financial and economic burdens the agreement imposes on our country. This includes ending the implementation of the nationally determined contribution and, very importantly, the Green Climate Fund, which is costing the United States a vast fortune. Compliance with the terms of the Paris Accord and the onerous energy restrictions that is placed on the United States could cost America as much as 2.7 million lost jobs by 2025, according to the National Economic Research Associates. This includes 440,000 fewer manufacturing jobs, not what we need. Believe me, this is not what we need, including automobile jobs, and the further decimation of vital American industries on which countless communities rely. They rely for so much, and we would be giving them so little. According to the same study, by 2040, compliance with the commitments put into place by the previous administration would cut production for the following sectors: paper, down 12%. Cement, down 23%. Iron and steel, down 38%. Coal, and I happen to love the coal miners, down 86%. Natural gas down 31%. The cost to the economy at this time would be close to $3 trillion in lost GDP and 6.5 million industrial jobs, while households would have $7,000 less income, and in many cases, much worse than that. Not only does this deal subject our citizens to harsh economic restrictions, it fails to live up to our environmental ideals. As someone who cares deeply about the environment, which I do, I cannot in good conscience support a deal that punishes the United States, which is what it does. The world's leader in environmental protection, while imposing no meaningful obligations on the world's leading polluters. For example, under the agreement, China will be able to increase these emissions by a staggering number of years, 13. They can do whatever they want for 13 years, not us. India makes its participation contingent on receiving billions and billions and billions of dollars in foreign aid from developed countries. There are many other examples, but the bottom line is that the Paris Accord is very unfair at the highest level to the United States. Further, while the current agreement effectively blocks the development of clean coal in America, which it does, and the mines are starting to open up. We're having a big opening in 2 weeks. Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, so many places. A big opening of a brand new mine. It's unheard of. For many, many years, that hasn't happened. They asked me if I'd go. I'm going to try. China will be allowed to build hundreds of additional coal plants. So we can't build the plants, but they can, according to this agreement. India will be allowed to double its coal production by 2020. Think of it. India can double their coal production. We're supposed to get rid of ours. Even Europe is allowed to continue construction of coal plants. In short, the agreement doesn't eliminate coal jobs. It just transfers those jobs out of America and the United States and ships them to foreign countries. This agreement is less about the climate and more about other countries gaining a financial advantage over the United States. The rest of the world applauded when we signed the Paris Agreement. They went wild. They were so happy. For the simple reason that it put our country, the United States of America, which we all love, at a very, very big economic disadvantage. A cynic would say the obvious reason for economic competitors and their wish to see us remain in the agreement is so that we continue to suffer this self-inflicted major economic wound. We would find it very hard to compete with other countries from other parts of the world. We have among the most abundant energy reserves on the planet, sufficient to lift millions of America's poorest workers out of poverty. Yet under this agreement, we are effectively putting these reserves under lock and key. Millions and millions of families trapped in poverty and joblessness. The agreement is a massive redistribution of United States wealth to other countries. At 1% growth, renewable sources of energy can meet some of our domestic demand. But at 3 or 4% growth, which I expect, we need all forms of available American energy, or our country will be at grave risk of brownouts and blackouts. Our businesses will come to a halt in many cases, and the American family will suffer the consequences in the form of lost jobs and a very diminished quality of life. Even if the Paris Agreement were implemented in full, with total compliance from all nations, it is estimated it would only produce a 0.2 of 1 degree, think of that, this much, Celsius reduction in global temperature by the year 2100. Tiny, tiny amount. In fact, 14 days of carbon emissions from China alone would wipe out the gains from America, and this is an incredible statistic, would totally wipe out the gains from America's expected reductions in the year 2030. After we have had to spend billions and billions of dollars, lost jobs, closed factories, and suffered much higher energy costs for our businesses and for our homes. As the Wall Street Journal wrote this morning, the reality is that withdrawing is in America's economic interest and won't matter much to the climate. The United States under the Trump administration will continue to be the cleanest and most environmentally friendly country on earth. We'll be the cleanest. We're going to have the cleanest air. We're going to have the cleanest water. We will be environmentally friendly, but we're not going to put our businesses out of work. And we're not going to lose our jobs. We're going to grow. We're going to grow rapidly. And I think you just read, it just came out minutes ago, the small business report. Small businesses, as of just now, are booming, hiring people, one of the best reports they've seen in many years. I'm willing to immediately work with Democratic leaders to either negotiate our way back into Paris under the terms that are fair to the United States and its workers, or to negotiate a new deal that protects our country and its taxpayers. So if the obstructionists want to get together with me, let's make them non-obstructionists. We will all sit down and we will get back into the deal and we'll make it good, and we won't be closing up our factories and we won't be losing our jobs, and we'll sit down with the Democrats and all of the people that represent either the Paris Accord or something that we can do that's much better than the Paris Accord. And I think the people of our country will be thrilled, and I think then the people of the world will be thrilled. But until we do that, we're out of the agreement. I will work to ensure that America remains the world's leader on environmental issues, but under a framework that is fair and where the burdens and responsibilities are equally shared among the many nations all around the world. No responsible leader can put the workers and the people of their country at this debilitating and tremendous disadvantage. The fact that the Paris deal hamstrings the United States while empowering some of the world's top polluting countries, should dispel any doubt as to the real reason why foreign lobbyists wish to keep our magnificent country tied up and bound down by this agreement. It's to give their country an economic edge over the United States. That's not going to happen while I'm president. I'm sorry. My job as president is to do everything within my power to give America a level playing field and to create the economic, regulatory, and tax structures that make America the most prosperous and productive country on earth, and with the highest standard of living and the highest standard of environmental protection. Our tax bill is moving along in Congress, and I believe it's doing very well. I think a lot of people will be very pleasantly surprised. The Republicans are working very, very hard. We'd love to have support from the Democrats, but we may have to go it alone, but it's going very well. The Paris Agreement handicaps the United States economy in order to win praise from the very foreign capitals and global activists that have long sought to gain wealth at our country's expense. They don't put America first. I do, and I always will. The same nations asking us to stay in the agreement are the countries that have collectively cost America trillions of dollars through tough trade practices and, in many cases, lax contributions to our critical military alliance. You see what's happening? It's pretty obvious to those that want to keep an open mind. At what point does America get demeaned? At what point do they start laughing at us as a country? We want fair treatment for its citizens, and we want fair treatment for our taxpayers. We don't want other leaders and other countries laughing at us anymore, and they won't be. They won't be. I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris. I promised I would exit or renegotiate any deal which fails to serve America's interests. Many trade deals will soon be under renegotiation. Very rarely do we have a deal that works for this country, but they'll soon be under renegotiation. The process has begun from day one, but now we're down to business. Beyond the severe energy restrictions inflicted by the Paris Accord, it includes yet another scheme to redistribute wealth out of the United States through the so-called Green Climate Fund, nice name, which calls for developed countries to send $100 billion to developing countries, all on top of America's existing and massive foreign aid payments. So we're going to be paying billions and billions and billions of dollars, and we're already way ahead of anybody else. Many of the other countries haven't spent anything, and many of them will never pay one dime. The Green Fund would likely obligate the United States to commit potentially tens of billions of dollars, of which the United States has already handed over $1 billion. Nobody else is even close. Most of them haven't even paid anything, including funds raided out of America's budget for the war against terrorism. That's where they came. Believe me, they didn't come from me. They came just before I came into office. Not good. And not good the way they took the money. In 2015, the United Nations, departing top climate officials, reportedly described the $100 billion per year as peanuts and stated that the $100 billion is the tail that wags the dog. In 2015, the Green Climate Fund's executive director reportedly stated that estimated funding needed would increase to $450 billion per year after 2020, and nobody even knows where the money is going to. Nobody's been able to say, where is it going to? Of course, the world's top polluters have no affirmative obligations under the Green Fund, which we terminate. America is $20 trillion in debt. Cash-strapped cities cannot hire enough police officers or fix vital infrastructure. Millions of our citizens are out of work, and yet, under the Paris Accord, billions of dollars that ought to be invested right here in America will be sent to the very countries that have taken our factories and our jobs away from us. So think of that. There are serious legal and constitutional issues as well. Foreign leaders in Europe, Asia, and across the world should not have more to say with respect to the U.S. economy than our own citizens and their elected representatives. Thus, our withdrawal from the agreement represents a reassertion of America's sovereignty. Our Constitution is unique among all nations of the world. And it is my highest obligation and greatest honor to protect it. And I will. Staying in the agreement could also pose serious obstacles for the United States as we begin the process of unlocking the restrictions on America's abundant energy reserves, which we have started very strongly. It would once have been unthinkable that an international agreement could prevent the United States from conducting its own domestic economic affairs. But this is the new reality we face if we do not leave the agreement or if we do not negotiate a far better deal. The risks grow as historically these agreements only tend to become more and more ambitious over time. In other words, the Paris framework is just a starting point, as bad as it is, not an end point. And exiting the agreement protects the United States from future intrusions on the United States' sovereignty and massive future legal liability. Believe me, we have massive legal liability if we stay in. As president, I have one obligation, and that obligation is to the American people. The Paris Accord would undermine our economy, hamstring our workers, weaken our sovereignty, impose unacceptable legal risk, and put us at a permanent disadvantage to the other countries of the world. It is time to exit the Paris Accord. And time to pursue a new deal that protects the environment, our companies, our citizens, and our country. It is time to put Youngstown, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, along with many, many other locations within our great country, before Paris, France. It is time to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very important. I'd like to ask Scott Pruitt, who most of you know and respect, as I do, just to say a few words. Scott, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your decision today to exit the Paris Accord reflects your unflinching commitment to put America first. And by exiting, you're fulfilling yet one more campaign promise to the American people. Please know that I'm thankful for your fortitude, your courage, and your steadfastness as you serve and lead our country. America finally has a leader who answers only to the people, not to the special interests who've had their way for way too long. In everything you do, Mr. President, you're fighting for the forgotten men and women across this country. You're a champion for the hardworking citizens all across this land who just want a government that listens to them and represents their interest. You have promised to put America first in all that you do. And you've done that in any number of ways, from trade to national security to protecting our border to right-sizing Washington, D.C. And today you've put America first with regard to international agreements and the environment. This is an historic restoration of American economic independence, one that will benefit the working class, the working poor, and working people of all stripes. With this action, you have declared that the people are rulers of this country once again. And it should be noted that we as a nation do it better than anyone in the world in striking the balance between growing our economy, growing jobs, while also being a good steward of our environment. We owe no apologies to other nations for our environmental stewardship. After all, before the Paris Accord was ever signed, America had reduced its CO2 footprint to levels from the early 1990s. In fact, between the years 2000 and 2014, the United States reduced its carbon emissions by 18+%. And this was accomplished not through government mandate, but accomplished through innovation and technology of the American private sector. For that reason, Mr. President, you have corrected a view that was paramount in Paris, that somehow the United States should penalize its own economy, be apologetic, lead with our chin, while the rest of the world does little. Other nations talk a good game. We lead with action, not words. Our efforts, Mr. President, as you know, should be on exporting our technology, our innovation, to nations who seek to reduce their CO2 footprint to learn from us. That should be our focus, versus agreeing to unachievable targets that harm our economy and the American people. Mr. President, it takes courage, it takes commitment to say no to the plaudits of men while doing what's right by the American people. You have that courage, and the American people can take comfort because you have their backs. Thank you, Mr. President.
That was President Trump announcing from the Rose Garden at the White House that the United States will pull out of the Paris Climate Accord. President Trump also said he is open and he will work towards a renegotiation or a new deal that is more fair to America. But President Trump said this climate accord, the Paris Accord signed in 2015, is not fair to America. He feels that it's, he said several times he thinks it's a way for other countries to get a financial advantage on America, and President Trump is therefore pulling out of the agreement. Again, he said he is open to renegotiation and open to trying to find a better deal, a more fair deal for America, but he said this is an unfair deal. He is pulling out of the climate accord. So as of right now, America is no longer going to be enforcing any of the any of the terms of the Paris Accord, and will no longer be trying to reduce its carbon production based on the Paris Accord. This is the post show. We're now going to do a post show on President Trump's announcement. I am Steve Lookner. This is Right Side Broadcasting. We want to hear your comments. What do you think about this announcement? Do you approve of it? Do you not approve of it? What do you think about the part where President Trump said, well, I'm going to pull out, but I'm open to renegotiating? How do you feel about it? We want to get your feedback, hear what you have to say. So if you want to write in, you can reach me. I'll read your comment on the air. I'm at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. And you can also email me at steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. A bunch of you have already written in. I'm going to start reading your comments in a second. I first want to thank, I believe Michelle donated $10 during the speech. And just let you know, if you're new to Right Side Broadcasting, we are viewer supported. We rely on you for donations. So if you enjoy our coverage and want to help us out, you help us stay on the air. We can't stay on the air without you. You can either go to rsbn.tv/donate. That's rsbn.tv/donate. Or if you're watching on YouTube, there's a chat room next to the broadcast. You can just click on the $ at the bottom of the chat room and donate that way. And we'll thank you on the air. Okay, so I want to get to some of your messages. A bunch of you wrote me during the announcement about your comments. Let's see. Carlos Alvarez writes in, MAGA, America is back. Let's see here. Build the Wall wrote in. He was talking about when President Trump said, we're withdrawing, but we might renegotiate. We're open to renegotiating. Build the Wall wrote in, he better not. We are watching him. NY Mike 2S had a comment about the fact that President Obama and John Kerry both released statements during the announcement in which they disapproved of President Trump's pulling out of the Paris Accord. And NY Mike 2S says, Dems crying already while POTUS is speaking with their prepared statements. And then he has a bunch of emojis of like laughing and smiling emojis. I saw some more comments from you. NY Mike 2S also said, didn't realize how bad the Paris Accord was. Worst violators, India and China, keep opening coal factories, but we have to shut ours down? Maggie Poretti wrote in response to hearing about President Obama's disapproving statement. She wrote in, too bad he didn't get Senate approval. And she was like, she had an emoji crying face. So I think Maggie is a supporter of President Trump's decision. Let me get to some more of your messages here. Jeffrey Williams writes in, I really like the phrase, this withdrawal is a reassertion of American sovereignty. This is much bigger than most realize right now. That's from Jeffrey. By the way, a couple people real quick tweeted in sharing me information about the Philippines. Very quick update. In Manila, the whole incident at the Resorts World resort there, I forget what the name of it is, but in Manila, the report was it was a robbery attempt. No one was shot. Injuries happened when people stampeded out of the resort when this robbery happened and people with guns came in. So that's the latest report I saw. Let's see. Leon Agnello says, first it is clear, Leon Agnello says, get up to speed on what is going on. You sound like you have been solely watching mainstream media and repeating their talking points. Okay, I'm not sure about that, but anyways, I'll continue, Leon. You say, first it is clear you are a globalist. Also, it is not a years-long process. The POTUS said the terms were non-binding, so withdrawal is effective immediately. So Leon, as I explained in the pre-show, nothing prevents the president from America from withdrawing immediately from the accord, but because there's no legal enforcement mechanism. It's not like UN troops are going to come in here and enforce the accord. But the actual terms of the agreement include a part where it says a country can only officially request withdrawal within 3 years and only officially be withdrawn a year after their request. Now, that doesn't mean we can't just withdraw and not enforce the provisions of the agreement. What it means, though, is if we want to withdraw in accordance with the procedure of the agreement, it would take us a number of years to do that. And I'd like to think I was clear about that in the pre-show. So feel free to go back and watch it again. But I feel like I made an effort to be clear. So I don't think I certainly and here, if you watched Right Side before, we don't tell you what to think. We try to not take sides here. We do this coverage for you. We try to have an agenda-free place to give you the news, because so much of what's in the mainstream media is driven by an agenda in some way. So we'll read your comments. We'll read them. We'll read, as long as you're clean, no matter what side you're on, we'll read your comments here. And we try to just present you with the facts. That's all we're trying to do here. We got a donation from Gene Cooper for $20. Thank you, Gene. Very much appreciated. As I said before, we're a viewer-supported network. We can't stay on the air without you. We can't cover breaking news, cover President Trump's announcements. We cover President Trump's rallies, and we interview people in line for hours beforehand, and we show you all the sights and sounds of the rally. We can't do any of this stuff without your support. So if you do like our coverage, hope you consider donating. Go to rsbn.tv/donate. That's rsbn.tv/donate. Or click the $ in the YouTube chat room. Blackout Worm also just donated 50 NOK or NLK? Norwegian? NOK, is that Norwegian krona or something? I'm not sure. So I think that might be a Norwegian currency. But thank you, Blackout, for donating. Very much appreciated. Meow wrote in. Meow sent me a picture. This was about Manila. Some people are emailing me from before about the Manila incident, but we're talking about, this is the President Trump announcement post show. Based Memer writes in, thanks for being such a good alternative to the mainstream media. Thank you, Based Memer. That's what we try to be, a place to go where you can get your news somewhere else besides mainstream media. Phil Honeycutt writes in, a very good decision to withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. So, Phil, you are in agreement. Young Lycos writes in, the Paris Accord is necessary for our children's future, and I hope Trump's renegotiation is successful. This will empower Keck. So this Young Lycos appears to be a Trump supporter, and Young Lycos does support some sort of climate agreement, but Young Lycos is also supporting President Trump renegotiating, it sounds like. Aaron Robinson says, you mentioned Music World donated, but didn't know if that was me because I never donated. I did to Wayne Dupree show. So no, Music World's name popped up on the screen as a donation today, Aaron, so that was not you, but thank you for writing. Oh, and ZenZV donated $5 too. Thank you so much. We very much appreciate your donations. If you want to write in, we're reading your comments. We're getting your feedback on what the announcement, on President Trump's announcement today. Again, President Trump announced the U.S. is pulling out immediately of the Paris Accord, the Paris Climate Accord, but he also said he is going to work towards a renegotiation or a new agreement that he thinks is more fair for the United States. President Trump said he did not feel that this agreement was fair. He felt that the agreement was other countries trying to take financial advantage of the United States. And he also said a memorable line that I'm sure we'll be hearing more and more over the days to come, which was, I believe it was something like, I didn't get elected to represent the citizens of Paris. I got elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh. And he thinks that pulling out of the deal is the best thing for America. He thinks it'll be better for our economy. He said that a number of times. He thought that the restrictions imposed by the Paris Accord would be harmful to the economy. Now, I've seen some people point out that, the way the Paris Accord works is it doesn't say every country has to do this. It lets different countries come up with what they think they can do to stop greenhouse gases from increasing, and different countries are left to themselves. But just because different countries are left to themselves doesn't mean that the countries won't do anything. And so, I think it's just because the United States did not have a specific target imposed on it, did not mean that the Paris Climate Change Accord was not going to affect things in the United States. And just as an example of that, President Obama, when he was president and he signed this accord, one of the big actions he took as to have us be in compliance with the Paris Accord was the Clean Power Act, which is not being enforced at the moment because there's a Supreme Court case going on about it, and also President Trump had an executive order about it. But my point is that yes, I agree that there's no one mandated target for everybody, and there is some autonomy given to countries in deciding what they're going to do to decrease greenhouse gases in accordance with the Paris Accord. But that doesn't mean countries will do nothing, and that doesn't mean so my point is, if the U.S. were to stay in the Paris Accord, even though it's not legally binding, and even though the U.S. can kind of figure out on its own how it wants to comply, I think if we're in it, you can expect there would be changes that happen in the United States to our energy policy as a result of it. Okay, I'm checking more of your messages here. Let's see. Climate Clarion writes in, young Americans won't let old men like Trump steal our future for profit. We will build the sustainable economy without him. So Climate Clarion does not approve of President Trump's pulling out of the Paris Accord. Let's see. BSTR writes in, another fail for deindustrialization of the West. Americans will no longer be guilt-tripped into dismantling their own economy. So BSTR approves of President Trump's announcement and thinks that the Paris Accord was part of an attempt to deindustrialize the West. Deplorable Aaron writes in, I think the decision by President Trump is great. Now the USA as a sovereign country can make their own environmental decisions. Snip Sharma writes in, hoping the comments made against most polluting countries have no repercussions. Nana writes in, as a proud American, I'm very concerned about how this damages our international position. Now, Nana, something you might be talking about, and I saw this concern raised. There was a New York Times article that raised this concern, and this is a concern. I think this is a concern. And I'm guessing this was talked about in the White House. Maybe it wasn't. I'm guessing it was. So there is a concern that when a country pulls out of an agreement, does it make countries less likely to enter into agreements with them of any sort in the future? So let me give you an example. If the U.S. started negotiating with North Korea over their nuclear program, does pulling out of this accord, this is what the theory would say. The theory would say that pulling out of this accord sends a signal that America might not stick to its international agreements, so that a country like North Korea wouldn't want to enter into an agreement with us because they think, well, maybe in a few years they'll just pull out of the agreement. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with this position. What I'm saying is this is a concern some people have raised, and it seems Nana is raising this. Now, it is possible that in the White House they raised this concern and they just said, you know what? That is a concern, but we think the benefits of pulling out of the Paris Accord outweigh the cost. They might have said that. I wasn't in the White House, I don't know, but thank you, Nana, for your message. Lars Anderson just donated 55 Swedish kroner. Thank you very much, Lars. We appreciate it. Appreciate all your donations today. They let us stay on the air. We are viewer supported. We can't stay on the air without your support. If you'd like to donate, rsbn.tv/donate. That's one way you can donate. rsbn.tv/donate. Or you can go to the YouTube chat on this broadcast live now and click on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat and donate that way. Or if you're interested in getting some free stuff like a Right Side mug, and I'm just going to drink a drink of water right now conveniently, this Right Side mug and other free stuff, we offer free stuff in exchange for if you set up a monthly donation. You can find out about that on our Patreon site, which is www.patreon.com/RSBN, and Patreon is Patreon. Let us get back to more of your comments. If you'd like to write in, love to hear. This is the post show for President Trump's announcement on the Paris Climate Accord, and we want to hear what you have to say. What do you think about the announcement? Write to me and let me know at Lookner, at Lookner, or email me steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. Ket King says, I'm so proud of President Trump. I wanted to let him know that live. Brian Williams writes in, very proud that real Donald Trump represents Pittsburgh and not Paris. Scott Pruitt is 1,000% improvement over Gina EPA, who's the former EPA administrator. Let's see here. More messages here. Young Lycos wrote in, Keck will fall. Trump shouldn't have let this happen. Oh, and I went to the tweet. The tweet was taken down. So maybe you took that back, Young Lycos. So sorry if you meant to withdraw it. I want to check my email here. It's been a few minutes, and I want to make sure I'm not ignoring any of your emails. In addition. Yes. And so I have a message from Greg Jackson. And by the way, we really do, here at Right Side Broadcast, we do this for you. We consider you part of the network here at Right Side. That's why we take your comments. When we covered breaking news earlier today, and we were having you help us cover the news. We feel that we are in this together with you, and we just want a place where we all can come together and talk about news and talk about what's happening in an agenda-free way that people feel comfortable to say what they want. And that's why we do this here. So thank you all for watching. And thank you to the moderators. A special shout out to the moderators. You've been working very hard today to moderate the chats, both on YouTube and rsbn.tv, because we were covering the breaking news earlier for a while, and now we're covering this. Thank you to all your hard work, moderators. Okay, Greg Jackson writes in, what is the statutory authority that gives this agreement any merit? Are we actually saying we want to end climate change? Without climate change, there are no seasons. Climate change is part of the evolutionary process. So a couple things, Greg. In terms of ending climate change, the goal of the Paris Accord is just to prevent the overall temperature of the planet from rising a certain number of degrees. There is a large number of scientists say that if the temperature rises too much, that will have effects like, and this makes sense that it would affect ice caps, and also it would raise the sea level. You might have coastal areas get flooded. You could get greater, extreme weather events. And so now there are harms to global warming, but the temperature range we're talking about is not a huge temperature range in terms of numbers. So the goal of the Paris Accord, the long-term goal, was to keep the temperature rise in the world below 2 degrees Celsius rise since pre-industrialization. So the goal is not to prevent, the climate change we're talking about that the Paris Accord is trying to prevent is not a climate change where there'd be no seasons. It's just that the overall temperature of the globe, of the Earth, rises a few degrees. That's the kind of climate change it's talking about. As opposed, in your question, which is a good question, what is the statutory authority that gives this agreement any merit? So I think what you're saying is how does this agreement have any teeth? Like a law against stealing in the United States, that has teeth because if I walk in and steal something, a cop can come and arrest me and they can throw me in jail. But, international agreements like this, they really just rely on the good faith of the countries to do what they said they're going to do. I mean, look, arms control agreements are like this. The Iran agreement is like this. Ultimately, it's up to just all the parties who sign their name on that document to follow through. And so, ultimately, with the Paris Accord, there was nothing binding the countries to stay with what they said they were going to do, other than the fact that they signed their name on their line and their reputation's on the line. So, really, in terms of statutory authority, the authority for the power of the agreement comes just because it's an agreement that every country has signed. That's where the power comes from. So if I think that's what you're looking for as the answer to your question, I hope it's not. I hope I answered your question the way you wanted it answered. If not, let me know, Greg. But that's really what it comes down to. A bunch of countries agree on something, and it has force for them because they've all agreed on it. I want to get to some more of your comments here. Let's see. We have, once in a while, the Kim Jong-un parody account writes me, and Kim Jong-un parody account says, reckless orange imperialist demon has no respect for human life, should learn with North Korea that economic progress is compatible with protecting people on Earth. So again, that is the Kim Jong-un parody account. I share those tweets
and say he's like my favorite troll.
He is Jake's favorite troll. Jake gets amused when he writes in and tries to troll our broadcasts. Let's see. Thank you, God, for Trump, writes in, he sent me a tweet from yesterday from Mitt Romney, in which Mitt Romney said, affirmation of the Paris Agreement is not only about the climate, it is about America remaining the global leader. And then somebody had commented on this tweet, and he wonders why he lost. So that was something that Thank You, God, for Trump just sent me. Young Lyco says, thank you for mentioning I took my tweet down. I appreciate your impartiality. Would you discuss the influence of Keck on Trump supporters? So it's a little off topic, Young Lycos. We're going to stick right now to the specific climate accord in President Trump's announcement, but thanks for writing in. Aaron Robinson says, a mention about the person who wrote in and mentioned the seasons, mentioned the term man-made climate change versus natural climate change. So I'm not sure exactly, Aaron, what you want me to mention. I think, are you wanting me to distinguish between climate change that happens just naturally, because the what's going on Earth does change over long spans of time, between that and man-made climate change, which is like sped up climate change due to, say, industrialization. So there is a difference between those two things. I think that's what you wanted me to say, Aaron. Okay, if you have more comments, if you have more feedback, would love to know, what do you think about this Paris announcement, this Paris Accord announcement by President Trump, that we are pulling out of the announcement, pulling out of the agreement, but President Trump is open to renegotiating or signing a new agreement if the terms, as he says, are more fair to America. What do you think about that? Give me a shout. Write to me at Lookner on Twitter or email me, steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. Thank you again for all your donations today. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to donate and support us, we're viewer supported. rsbn.tv/donate or click the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat. I'm pulling up my email for a second. I also want to pull up my Twitter in a second and just check if there's any more news updates about this whole thing. Well, so while I have a second, let me do that and see if anything else happened in the last couple minutes. Give me 1 sec as I go down here. And to repeat, just an update about the Manila terror attack from before. Police say, according to Breaking 911, police say no gunshot victims in the Filipino. The Filipino authorities are saying it was not a terror attack, it was a robbery. They're saying there were no gunshot victims. People got hurt when they stampeded out. Also, it says Philippine police chief says one gunman involved in attack on hotel and casino complex and is still at large. So it looks like maybe it was just one gunman in the Philippines at that casino attack / robbery and or robbery. Vice President Pence just tweeted out, by his action today, President Donald Trump is choosing to put the forgotten men and women of America first. That was from Vice President Pence. People are asking about the Trump rally. So if people didn't hear, there was a Trump rally that was supposed to be today, Jake, but it got postponed, and the Trump campaign is soon going to announce another date for it. This was the Iowa rally. It got postponed. We tweeted that out a couple days ago, but maybe some people don't follow us. Follow us if you'd like at RSB Network on Twitter. So we'll cover it whenever it happens. Lindsey Graham just tweeted out 19 minutes ago, I support President Trump's desire to re-enter the Paris Accord after the agreement becomes a better deal for America and business. That's from Lindsey Graham. Let's see here. Trying to see some other feedback people might have had on this. Oh, I got a couple more messages from you, so let me get to those. Elon Musk. So Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, as promised, he said if President Trump pulls out of the Paris Accord, he's going to leave. Elon Musk said, I'm going to withdraw. I'm not going to participate in presidential advisory councils that I'm on. Now, I don't know whether Elon Musk will go back to those councils if President Trump signs a renegotiated Paris deal. But anyways, Elon Musk just tweeted out recently, am departing presidential councils. Climate change is real. Leaving Paris is not good for America or the world. That's from Elon Musk. Rick Perry, Secretary of Energy, tweeted out 11 minutes ago, I fully support the President's decision on the Paris Accord. The U.S. will continue to be a leader in energy technology development and delivery. Now, to give you an example of some of the Democrat response to this, I want to just read one tweet here. Hold on one sec. Sorry. Let me pull this up. Actually, I'm sorry. So I want to give you an example. This is a so this is from a Republican senator, Jim Inhofe. This is not a criticism. Jim Inhofe says this administration is prioritizing the bottom line of hardworking Americans over the agendas of environmental extremists. Just trying to get you more feedback on President Trump's announcement. Let me get to some of your messages, though. As I scroll to them. Thomas Johnson says, we pulled and should stay out. Man-made climate change is a myth. So that is from Thomas Johnson. Thomas Johnson supports the withdrawal. Aaron Robinson says, the stated purpose of the Paris Accords was to combat man-made climate change. It's just very unfair to America. Plus, even Brian Williams on NBC reported on ClimateGate, even back in 2012, how scientists spoke out about other scientists faking the temperature data, starting the decades ago temperature lower than it actually was, making it seem like temperature was rising. So, Aaron, you don't think that you disagree on with the scientists who do claim that there is man-made climate change, and plenty of scientists do claim this. Now, I know people out there, also some people disagree with that. And now I should say this, though. President Trump's announcement today was really focused more not on whether climate change is real or how much of it is going on. He really focused his agreement on the deal. And his thought was that he kept saying, his motivation he kept saying was he feels this deal was unfair to America, and he felt that it was going to cost America economically. And he also said he didn't think the deal itself would really improve any kind of the climate change problem. If he didn't feel like it would have much effect on the climate of the world. So for all those reasons, that's why he said he was pulling out of the agreement, basically just that it hurts America and is unfair to Americans. But he didn't really he did not emphasize any kind of like whether he agrees with the science of it or not. Not to impute some view of him, and not to say, look, you are allowed to have any view you'd like. So I'm just making a technical point about President Trump, what the reasons he cited today. Okay, that's very nice. So Joanne Goldschneider donated $75. That's very kind of you, Joanne. Thank you so much. And Munchies the Sock Monkey, that is true, donated $17.76, $17.76. Thank you, Joanne and Munchies, for your donations. Much appreciated. That helps keep us on the air. We can't stay on the air without your support. We're only can be broadcasting and cover the events and give you an alternative to the mainstream media for breaking news and events like this today and for Trump rallies. We can only cover this thanks to your help. So if you want to support us, go to rsbn.tv/donate. rsbn.tv/donate, or you can click the $sign on YouTube in the chat room next to the broadcast. You can click the $sign at the bottom of the chat room.
Munchies the Sock Monkey, I think, is your nickname around the office, isn't it?
I assume people could hear that, Jake? Yeah, no, it's not my nickname at the office. Interesting. One interesting point, I just saw a tweet about Jared and Ivanka. Specifically, I saw reports that Ivanka Trump, now I don't know if this is true, but I saw several reports saying that she was trying to lobby her dad to stay in the Paris Accord. And now she reportedly, Jim Acosta said she went home to observe the announcement. So it's just an interesting dynamic going on there. President Trump there were reportedly people in his circle who were for staying in, and there was reportedly people in his circle who were for leaving the Accord. So probably a lot of intense discussions over the last couple of days about this. Dan Matthews says, Steve, first time watching you on live on YouTube. Great coverage. Thank you, Dan. Good thing President Trump pulled out of this nonsense deal. India/China/Brazil all have no restrictions, but only the U.S. Aaron Robinson says, they were caught fudging the data, so how can we treat it as real? Scientists are basing what they believe on faulty data that was admitted. So Aaron, you do not agree with the science, the claims of scientists on this. Thomas Johnson says, Elon Musk is one that benefits from climate policy. Not surprising that he withdrew. Sorry, I'm just getting rid of a little notification I had here. We're taking more of your comments and your questions on this, and you're hearing your thoughts on the President Trump's announcement that the U.S. is pulling out of the Paris Accord. We're going to stay a little while longer here. So if you would like to write in your comment, would love to hear your feedback on this, whatever your feedback is on President Trump's announcement today. Write to me on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner, or email me, steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. Also, if you do like Right Side's coverage of these events, feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell when you subscribe. When you do that, you'll be informed whenever we go live with a video, live with news coverage. You'll know about all of our coverage here at Right Side Broadcasting. Yeah, so we're going to be here about, I think, 5-10 more minutes. So if you have comments, get them in now so we can read them. Some people sometimes ask, and we're getting some questions like, hey, if I want to mail in a donation or mail something to you, that is on the website at rsbn.tv. You can go to contact information. I can actually read it though. Hold on, I'll pull that page up. SBN TV contact. But you can go to rsbn.tv and go to contact us. And you can find it there. But let me call it up quickly here. It is Right Side Broadcasting Network, 1550 Opelika Road. Opelika is Opelika. Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. If that was too fast for you, you can just go back and rewind the video. We're on, that's all you have to do. Let's see. Jake, we have another message from Kim Jong-un parody account. It says, Climate Clarion or something is absolutely, the person who wrote in is absolutely right. We young pioneers will not let Orange Devil steal our future. Join me in the fight against capitalism evil like in the 60s. P.S. I don't know what trolling is, but I think you were disrespectful, so RSBN will be nuked too. That's from parody Kim Jong-un.
He's got to step up his game a little bit.
Jacob thinks he has to step up his game. Keck King says, I'm so proud of President Trump. I just wanted to get that out there. Thomas Johnson says, no matter the deal, the U.S. will not get a positive result. So you don't want him to renegotiate, it sounds like, Thomas. Just in from Berlin, according to the Associated Press, German Chancellor Angela Merkel says she regrets the U.S. climate move. She'll keep working to save our Earth. Let's see here. Oh, okay. I'm going to get some more messages here soon, apparently. GM announced that their CEO, Mary Barra, will not leave President Trump's advisory council despite this decision on Paris. That comes from David Shepardson on Twitter. The environmental minister of Canada, according to Steve Herman, says Canada is deeply disappointed by the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. Hustle James says, Trump did the right thing. Great live coverage. Thank you. You're welcome, Hustle James. Dijon Ribic says, Elon Musk should also give back all the subsidies then if he wants to withdraw from councils. So you're saying, Dijon, that his companies, like including Tesla, his green energy companies, and his, I don't know if it's the battery company, do they get subsidized as well? But you say he's gotten a lot of subsidies from the government and he should give those back if he's going to withdraw from the president's council. Okay, I am just catching up here. We have just a couple more minutes here, so if you want to get a last minute comment, please write me soon. Just trying to catch up on any kind of other news and feedback that came out on my Twitter feed here. Okay, got that. Aaron Robinson says, the ice caps naturally decrease and increase with the seasons. In fact, just a couple of years ago, we had the biggest ice caps that we had in a long time. So Aaron, you are not convinced that global warming is happening. Seamus O'Heeman writes in, America first, America first. Oh, and one more thing, America first. Hashtag MAGA. That's from Seamus O'Heeman. Or maybe it's Seamus O'Heeman. That's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Okay, I think we're about to wrap it up here for now. Oh, my email, okay. Hold on. So we're going to wrap it up in a minute. And I want to just quickly say, as we're getting towards, the end of the stream, thank you again to the moderators. So the moderators worked very hard today because they moderated this chat today and also the chat during our coverage of the Manila incident, which again, apparently turned out not to be a terror attack. We're hearing it's a robbery attempt and no one was shot and people were hurt, but there was apparently people were hurt in the stampede of people who ran out of the building. And there was a gunman there, at least one gunman, we heard that. So, when breaking news happens, the initial reports can always change. And there were some reports that ISIS had taken credit for it. Now, maybe somebody went online who represents ISIS and did take credit for it, and it turned out it wasn't a terrorist attack. So I want to give you an update on that. But thank you to the moderators to have moderated the chat room, both in this coverage and the coverage right before this of the incident in Manila. And let's see. Barbara Braley, oh no, you just liked a certain something, Barbara Braley. So I thought you had sent a message in. And I think, Jake, there's one more message that was supposed to be that somebody had sent us. Yes? Oh, I'm not getting it here. Okay. And, okay, we want to let you know also that, tomorrow, Nick Fuentes, if you didn't know, Nick Fuentes' show is back on the air at Right Side Broadcasting, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can tune in. I'm guessing, Nick, tomorrow we'll talk more about the Paris Accord announcement from President Trump. So catch Nick Fuentes, America First with Nick Fuentes, at 4 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at Right Side Broadcasting. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube and hit the notifications bell when you subscribe to hear about all of our videos. Follow us at RSB Network on Twitter. I am at @Lookner on Twitter if you like breaking news. I tweet a lot about breaking news stuff, so at LOOKNER. And Jacob Seals, who's done a great job producing today, he is at Jacob RSBN Music. I'm going to take one last look here at, Oh, I'm sorry. I just got a bunch of emails here. They were not coming up on my screen. So I just got them. I'm going to read them now. I apologize to you. I was refreshing my email and they all just came up. So let me read some emails now. And I apologize anyone who wrote in before. I didn't get your email before. I just got in a bunch of emails. All right, let's go back. Let me read some of these. Walter Holohan writes, Hi, Steve. Very happy to see Trump take a balanced approach to this issue. We should be conservative with our carbon emissions, but push over Obama, let the other nations take him for a ride. We can be smart about our carbon and smart about our economy. Trump is strong enough to handle both sides for the good of America. That was from Walter Holohan. Sorry, Walter Holohan. Sorry, this is a very difficult email page I have here. Greg Jackson says, if we want to understand climate change purveyors, we should force those who do the computer modeling to release the source code in the modeling programs. It's very suspicious they refuse to do this. I had tried for months and months to get this code. That's from Greg Jackson. This is from, let's see, Douglas McNichol, who's writing from Cyprus. Hello, Douglas. And Douglas says, from an appreciative Brit, RSBN, you do good work. Skip to the end for my main point. Let's see. President Trump is very brave and is totally correct in dumping the Paris Climate Change Agreement. So that is from Douglas McNichol. Thank you, Douglas, for writing in. From Cyprus. CW writes in, Charlie Waco, Steve, I enjoyed the broadcast today. Thanks for keeping everything so real over there at RSBN. Thank God for President Trump. Keep on keeping on, CW. Thank you, Charlie, very much. We do this for you guys, so we like to hear that you're enjoying the coverage. Thank you. Patrick Jones from Los Angeles, where I used to live, writes, I was glad to hear our president acknowledge the wealth distribution. I was glad to hear our president acknowledge the wealth redistribution aspect of the Paris scam. I would encourage anyone to go to the UN site, Sustainable Development Knowledge Platform, have a good look at item number 10, and see if there's a plainer way to read it than equalize nations. From Patrick Jones in Los Angeles. Thank you, Patrick, for writing in. Greg Jackson says, greenhouse gases are a myth. This idea came about because of the difference between I think you mean because of the difference between Mars and Venus. Mars being without an atmosphere and therefore cold, whereas Venus with its dense atmosphere is much warmer. These same scientists negate the effect of the sun on each of these planets. If it weren't for the sun's radiation, there would be no Earth as we know it. A greenhouse is an enclosed system without the benefit of exterior forces. The Earth is not an enclosed system as such. There are different climates within the atmosphere and therefore no greenhouse. Consider the amount of CO2 that is in the atmosphere and the amount of CO2 that man creates. Not only is natural CO2 insignificant, but man's input is even more insignificant. This is all a method for people who produce nothing to have the ability to acquire a massive wealth. So that is from Greg Jackson. Greg, thanks for writing in. BK Lewis writes, I am a moderator on RSBN.TV. Thank you, BK Lewis, for doing that. Can individual states opt into the accord to undermine the administration? What do you think, BK? Can individual states do it? Well, an individual American state, they can, I believe that states can set some of their own policies on climate stuff. I don't know exactly, how what the states can do versus what the country can do. So for example, there are some states that have certain regulations, like we don't sell plastic bags. We think it's bad for the environment. So in certain states, I would think could mandate, like in certain buildings they own, that they have to be green buildings or whatever. So certainly there are things states can do. Now, the states can't opt into the climate accord because that's not an agreement between individual states. It's an agreement between countries. But nothing is stopping individual states from passing their own environmental regulations. And, I'm sure a lot of states do have strong environmental regulations. And I've certainly, certain college campuses say we want to be a green campus and that kind of thing. So, but I wouldn't see that as so much as undermining the administration as taking their own position on, on climate issues. And, the administration states can't control the same things as the administration does. So, for example, a state could pass regulation about, this is the kind of building you have to build if you're going to build a state building, but that's not something that the federal government would deal with anyway. The federal government would deal with things like coal plants and nuclear plants and things like that. And so now there's probably some sort of overlap there, but for the most part, I think my point is just that the states could make their own environmental regulations about things that the federal government doesn't cover, but that wouldn't be them, going against, entering into agreement. That would be more them just making their own policy depending on what they think the policy should be. Thanks, BK. Okay, I know there's some more messages here. Let me catch up. Sarah Holman writes in, awesome, I 100% support President Trump's decision. That's from Sarah Holman. Lucy Overstreet says, watching you on YouTube, great job today. Thank you, Lucy. The men in the picture you showed waiting on Trump look like they are getting hot in the sun. So enjoy RSBN. Lucy in Tennessee. Thank you, Lucy. And Lucy also says, so thrilled, praise the Lord that President Trump did not give in to the pressure of the left. He stood up for the American people. I am so thankful for President Trump and that he pulled us out of the Paris Treaty. In him, Lucy in Tennessee. Marcus writes in, Marcus Went, Steve, what people are missing is that this accord has no weight. It functions in a manner to circumvent the constitutional requirement of the 2/3 of the Senate to confirm a treaty. By every examination, this accord functions as a treaty. It is an illegal commitment by a former president of the U.S. to act in a certain manner, to enact certain laws, to pay money into a foreign fund. As such, there is no legal obligation to comply with it, Marcus. So, Marcus, thanks for writing in. And I do know some people think this Paris Accord was a treaty, and therefore it needed to be ratified by the Senate to have an effect on the U.S., and it wasn't ratified by the Senate. It was never brought to the Senate to ratify. So some of you out there think this treaty never had any kind of binding force to begin with. David Sheremetev writes in, Steve, do you think there could be a Trump bounce in the markets if the U.S. does start the withdrawal process? Good news, hopefully. Hard to say, David. I could see there being a bounce or there could be a non-bounce, because I could see there being a bounce if people say this will help the economy. But if some people say, well, if President Trump isn't working, if this leads to some international tension, that could maybe hurt the economy. I don't know. So I'm not sure what to say about whether there could be a bounce or not out of this announcement. Now, I will say, since reports came out yesterday that President Trump was likely pulling out of the treaty, perhaps whatever bump or non-bump there was going to be is already factored in, based on because people investing today would in playing the markets and buying and selling would have already had that information that President Trump was likely to announce a pullout. Let's see here. Okay, we're going to wrap up really soon here. Oh, and it's I can hear the rain outside. Apparently raining very hard here in Auburn, Alabama. Thanks for all your comments today. Much appreciated. A few more here. P-Cell writes in, good job on covering this, Steve. Your way of explaining things helps. Thank you, and thanks to all of the RSBN crew. You're welcome, P-Cell. We try to be clear here in explaining things, so appreciate that you enjoy the coverage. We do it for you. That's why we're on the air. We do this for you. If you like our coverage, hope you consider donating. We are viewer-supported. We can't stay on the air without your help. If you want to donate, go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or you can go to the $ in the chat room on YouTube. Click on the $ at the bottom of the chat room, and you can donate that way. Special hello to everybody watching on Facebook today, in addition to YouTube, because we're on Facebook today as well. Share our videos on Facebook if you get a chance. We love when you do that. And like and follow us on Facebook at Right Side Broadcasting. By the way, really dumb thing, when President Trump was talking, I got an email, and I realized, so we bought plane tickets to go to the Iowa rally last week, because normally we drive there, but it would have been such a long drive, it just made more sense for us to fly. And then the rally got postponed, so we quickly canceled our ticket so we could get a refund. The problem is I had forgotten that in addition to buying a plane ticket to Iowa, I had to go to Boston for a family event this weekend, which I'm still doing, but I bought a ticket from Iowa to Boston, so I canceled my ticket to Iowa from Alabama, but I totally forgot to cancel my ticket from Iowa to Boston. So now I will be eating that non-cancellation fee. And just so much was going on, I forgot. So that was my I'm an idiot moment of the day today, which I realized. Let me just see. I think there's a couple more messages here that I want to get to before we end this. Danny Mack writes in, hi, Steve. My name is Danny McPherson. I'm watching your show live. Thanks for watching, Danny. I have to say that exiting the Paris Accord was the best move by far Trump could have done. The accord is merely a way for the globalists to have even more of a stranglehold on our country and pull us closer to a one-world society. Trump has said many times that we aren't a global nation, we are America. They want to tax all these manufacturing companies with carbon taxes. These companies will have to buy carbon credits based on the emissions that their state regulates. Anything over that, they have to pay egregious amounts of money out or buy up other credits from neighboring companies. All this will do is force companies to move to other countries with lower emissions and force higher price on consumables and non-consumable. Trump is a businessman and knows how to read contracts. He can see past the shadow BS hidden behind the fine lines. Love your show. Thank you, Danny, for writing in and sharing your view. Appreciate it. Let's see. No name, please no name read aloud says, when in elementary school, the coming ice age was pounded in our heads. What happened with that? President Trump is just the kind of American president that we need to put our country back on track. Thanks for your great coverage, Steve, and the only way is up for RSBN. Thanks for your comment, Maria, and for watching us. Now, I will say... all right. I'm an idiot. I'm not naming the whole name. I won't say it again. So there was a whole name here. I did not read the full name. My fault. I apologize. I'm an idiot. Okay, that was my second idiotic moment of the day. But I will say now, in response to the comment about the coming ice age in school, if the coming ice age they talked about was like the ice age that happens when like the energy of the sun stops, that still I think is on schedule to happen. But maybe they were talking about something else in school when you were there. So it's very possible. Let me see here. I think we're all caught up. Okay, we need to end the stream now, so we're going to do that. We really appreciate you all watching here. And we appreciate you all watching this coverage today. We do this for you, and we really appreciate all of not only just your watching, but also your comments that you sent in and your feedback. And so we enjoy letting you get your views on the air. Thank you to Jake Seals for producing today. Great job. Thank you to all the moderators for moderating all your hard work today in the chat rooms. And what else did I want to say? Subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the notifications bell. You will get notifications of all of our videos. And follow us on Twitter at RSB Network. I am at Lookner. Jacob Seals is at Jacob RSBN Music. Watch Nick Fuentes' show tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, Right Side Broadcasting. I will be traveling tomorrow and also be traveling on Monday. So it might be the case that there's some news event that happens and you don't see me. If so, that's why. But even if this weekend I'll be in Massachusetts, but I'm happy. I will do updates from there as the news warrants. So anyways, that is our post show for today. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of President Trump's announcement to withdraw America from the Paris Accord. We will be back if there's any more breaking news. We always cover breaking news here. But for now, thanks for watching Right Side, and from all of us here at Right Side, hope you have a good day.